Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's ask ourselves a question. Is the career of Lawrence Okolie salvageable? Because we know what happened last May. He lost his title to Chris Billam-Smith. There was supposedly going to be a rematch. The rematch that wasn't. The fight against Billam-Smith was awful. It was just a weird road crash of a fight. Okolie was down, I think, 3 or 4 times. He had a couple of points taken off for clutching and holding, which is nothing new to him. And the rematch just never happened. Now, I don't know whether Sky thought, we're not running that back, the hell with that, or whether Okolie thought, I can't make the weight, I've got to move up. And that seems to be what the plan is, go up to either bridgerweight or heavyweight. And the question is, can Okolie make any kind of effect at heavyweight? Because that's where the money is. Bridgerweight is one of those, well, I think the WBA are introducing some sort of equivalent of, I don't know what they're going to call it, super cruiserweight maybe. And of course, whenever any of these ruling bodies sniffs a sanctioning fee, they'll go there. But we'll stick to bridgerweight. The WBC introduced it. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about heavyweight. I just cannot see in any shape or form how on earth Okolie can make any kind of splash at heavyweight. I mean, think about the guys who are at the top or even near the top. Do you think Okolie would beat AJ or Alexander Usyk or Fury or Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois, Caballel, Zhilei Zhang, even Joe Joyce, who's coming off two bad defeats? What about Filip Hrgović? Otto Wallin? What about the ancient Luis Ortiz? I mean, he might have a chance against some of the cruiserweights who've moved up. So Murat Gasayev is still in the mix at heavyweight. I don't know why, but he is. I think Kevin Lerena, who gave Daniel Dubois all sorts of hell, was at last seen at cruiserweight. Apparently he could come up to heavyweight. I think he fights at cruiserweight or heavyweight. Who else we got? F.A. Jagba, Jared Anderson, Wilder. Can you see Okolie beating any of these people? I mean, put it this way. If he fought Derek Chisora, who's completely, over the hill, has got, if he's a car, he'd have 500,000 miles on the clock, or maybe 1 million. Would you bet on Okolie to beat Chisora? Then there's Bakolie's another one. I mean, even Makhmudov, who had that sort of very bad defeat to Ajit Caballel. No, I don't see Okolie. I wouldn't put money on Okolie beat any of these people. Not a single one. So that leaves the other option, which is bridgerweight. And bridgerweight, what are we saying here? I mean, what I did was I went over to the rankings and I had a look. I thought, I wonder who's in the top 10. Well, the WBC bridgerweight champion is Lukas Rozansky, who looks like a fat cruiserweight, but was last seen smashing Alan Babic to bits in a round. Guy from Poland. I think he's in his mid-30s. He's about 37, 30, maybe even older than 37, 36, 37. And he is undefeated. He's 15 wins with 14 KOs. So statistically, it looks good. No defeats, no draws. So Rozansky against Okolie. I wouldn't bet on Okolie, but I don't know. Okolie, you would think, should take him when you bear in mind how good Okolie has looked in the distant past. But recently, I mean, his performance against David Light was atrocious. That was so boring. And Light actually suffered a brain bleed. Horrible little aside to that fight. He said there was absolutely nothing good about that fight. But if you go down the top 10 bridgerweight rankings, you've got Poland's. First I'll go through the rankings. Number 1, you've got Riyad Mehri, who is, I don't know whether he's from Belgium. and he fights out of Germany or vice versa. But this is the guy who... Was he the guy who recently beat Tony Yoka? I think he was. I think he outpointed Tony Yoka during Yoka's comeback fight. I think he is from Belgium, but he's got some sort of connection to Germany as well. But I think he's from Belgium. And in that fight with Yoka, he didn't look too bad. He looked okay. He looked competent. He looked decent. But to be ranked a number one contender for Rosansky's belt, it kind of tells you what's coming next. It's pretty low-level stuff, this bridgerweight thing. Would he beat Okolie? Yeah, probably, possibly. Maybe Okolie could win. Then you've got Adam Balski of Poland. Balski, I can't remember much about this guy. I know the name. Balski. Leave it in the comments because I've forgotten. I know the name. When you say it, I'm going to go, oh yeah, him. I know has he fought in Britain a few times? I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest with you. Then at third, you've got Andrew Tabiti, who moved up to cruiserweight. I know he got stopped by Dorticos in 10 rounds as a cruiser. He's lost once since then, but he is a cruiserweight. He's a cruiserweight. As are a lot of these guys, I think, to be honest with you. Then you got Alan Babic at 4. Well, we know about Babic, and like I say, he's coming off that one-round blowout of Rosansky. Then you got a guy from I think he's from Australia. He's called Chris Terzievsky. And this guy, I had a look at his box rec, and I think he's lost twice. Once, is it once or twice? It might only be once, actually. I think he's lost once. He's got 2 draws and about 15 wins. But the guy he lost to, he was stopped in 5 rounds, and they had a rematch, and I think it was a draw. But he's got no one on his record at all. No one on his record. Chris Terzievsky. Yeah, I honestly don't know much about him at all. Don't know much about him. Then you got a guy called Carlos Welch. Now, when I read this name, when I was looking down the rankings, I thought, I know this guy. And I went over to BoxRec. He is the 43-year-old who got knocked out by Gasayev in 1 round. And that was the second 1-round defeat of his career. He's got 3 defeats. I can't remember how many wins he's got. But he's 43. He's from the US. You look at the little picture on the BoxRec thing, he looks older than 43. I mean, he looks older than me, and I'm a lot older than 43. But yeah, that was, yeah. But he's ranked in the top 10 because he's got a glossy statistical record. Then you've got Alex Barriere from Canada, a guy I don't know anything about. I've got an idea this guy might be undefeated, like in 15, and he's got quite a high KO percentage, but he's fought absolutely no one. If it's the right guy I'm thinking of. I've read about him, but again, I mean, look, I follow boxing religiously. I watch so much boxing, it ain't even funny. And after these guys, have I heard of him? Do I know him? And then I have to go and check. I mean, these are unknowns. This is like a who's who of who, Then at 8, you've got a guy called Keaton Gomez from South Africa. I know absolutely nothing about him. At 9, Tom Schwartz. Remember Tom Schwartz getting smashed to bits in 2 rounds by Tyson Fury however many years ago? And then at 10, you've got an interesting character, actually, Ukrainian, who probably does deserve to be somewhere near the top 10. This guy is called Bohdan Mironets, and British fans will know him because on his last two fights, actually, were to Britain. And he outpointed Cash Ali and Nathan Gorman. And he lost a decision to a guy called, was it David Spilmont, who gave Alan Babic a tough fight. But I've got an idea that's his only defeat. But he's looking okay. He's from Ukraine. And I remember thinking, if he could get down to cruiserweight, he might do some damage because he was taking on these much bigger guys and kind of toying with them. And he showed a very, very good chin on the occasions he was hit. He wasn't even rattled a little bit. But he's ranked at 10. Now, as I say, going through this top 10 bridgerweight rankings, yeah, Okolie, if he got his head together and if he started to behave like a fighter and, recognise that boxing is boxing and not wrestling, and there is no sort of ground floor, no ground game, no grappling in boxing. And he started to actually, fight. Yeah, he could beat most of these guys. Maybe not all of them, but he could beat most of them. You would think in terms of raw talent, he could beat them. But you just never know with Okolie, because his career has gone to shit. I mean, it's terrible. He's since leaving in Hearn and Matchroom. I mean, that whole mess. God Almighty, Hearn must be thinking, why did I throw so much money into that guy and waste it? And number two, thank God he's gone. Shalom must be thinking, what the bloody hell am I going to do with this guy? I paid a fortune for him, and look at him. Well, if you can pick up the bridgerweight title somewhere along the line. I mean, don't forget, this is, £200 to £224 title. Yeah, you can navigate him through some defences and make a bit of money, maybe, because people talk about, let's take, for example, the WBO. I know that this is a sanctioning body and not a weight division, but I remember when the WBO first came on the scene and people like Chris Eubank had it, and no one out of Britain cared. No one took him seriously. WBO wasn't ranked. I remember when the cruiserweight division, going way back to when I was a teenager, cruiserweight division came onto the scene. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a damn about the cruiserweights. And yet, these things take time. So if Okolie could maybe win a title and make some defences and kind of build up the brand, if you like, it's possible he could maybe have he's 31 now, I think, Okolie. He is 6'5". Some of these guys are tall as well. But I'll tell you what else. Looking down the list of the top 10 ranked bridgerweight contenders, many of them are in their 30s, mid-30s. And you got to think, well, if these guys could make cruiserweight, why didn't they? Why didn't they cause a splash previously? I mean, Tabiti came close. Andrew Tabiti came close. Or you're thinking, well, they're guys who can't make cruiserweight and we're never going to make it at heavyweight, so they went to this, sort of I don't know what you call it, like it's a cheap dive, isn't it, really? It's like the equivalent of, you can't get into the best club in town, so you've got to make do with, the local spit and sawdust pub, the bridgerweight division. Yeah, Okolie can do some damage in this division if he wants to, but is it worth it? I don't know. If he can stay at cruiserweight, I would stay at cruiserweight. But if he can't, I guess this is where he's going to be, because he sure as hell ain't competing with the heavyweights. Not a chance. Anyway, that's Lawrence Okolie for you, a current state of affairs. If you've got any comments, leave them below. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also hit the like button. I appreciate that. And yeah, what do you think of Lawrence Okolie? What do you think of his career? Do you think he can resurrect it or not? I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Bye for now.